breaking the chains within and without. How Black Americans can overcome internal and external barriers to true success. For over 150 years since emancipation, Black Americans have struggled with a unique and complex mix of internal and external barriers to success. Though civil rights have been codified and representation in various sectors has improved, deep and troubling issues remain. Some are rooted in a tragic history of slavery, segregation, and systemic injustice. Others are self-inflicted wounds born out of cultural decay, political manipulation, and intellectual stagnation. But perhaps the most dangerous of all barriers is the false gospel of victimhood preached by white liberals and race hustlers, both black and white, who benefit from our failure. To move forward, we must confront these realities both internally and externally, with truth, discipline, and independence of thought. External barriers, systems of hindrance. There is no doubt that racism and injustice have played a significant role in the historical oppression of Black Americans. However, modern-day systemic racism is no longer the most crucial obstacle we face. The education gap. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, in 2023, only 15% of Black 8th graders were proficient in math and 13% in reading, a result of failing public schools often run by Democratic administrations in urban areas. Compare this to Asian American students who, despite being minorities, vastly outperform every other demographic in public education. Economic disparities. As of 2022, the median household income for Black individuals was $52,860, compared to $77,999 for whites and $101,418 for Asians, U.S. Census Bureau. Much of this disparity is tied not to race, but to factors such as family structure, educational attainment, and employment sectors. Despite these barriers, immigrants of African, Asian, and Caribbean descent often succeed within a generation. Nigeria Americans, for example, are one of the most educated ethnic groups in the United States. According to a Migration Policy Institute study, 61% of Nigerian immigrants aged 25 or older held at least a bachelor's degree, compared to 33% of U.S.-born individuals. This proves that skin color is not destiny, culture is. 2. Internal barriers, the enemies within. More damaging than external oppression are the chains we place upon ourselves. These are hard truths, but truth, nonetheless. Fatherlessness. Over 70% of Black children are born to single mothers. CDC 2022. This is the core of the cultural crisis. Boys grow up without role models. Girls grow up without protection. Without fathers, communities crumble. Victim mentality. White liberals and Black race hustlers, like Al Sharpton and Ibram X. Kendi, profit by convincing us that we are powerless. They tell us that meritocracy is racist, that capitalism is oppressive, and that the only solution is more government programs. As Booker T. Washington warned over 100 years ago, there is a class of colored people who make a business of keeping the troubles, of the Negro race before the public. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievances, because they do not want to lose their jobs. Glorification of ignorance. In many neighborhoods, academic success is called acting white. Rap music often promotes violence, materialism, and misogyny, feeding the very stereotypes we claim to reject. We cannot blame outsiders when we celebrate the same images that destroy our image. 3. The white liberal, false savior, true oppressor. The white liberal has become a modern plantation owner, offering crumbs in exchange for loyalty. They push failed schools, soft-on-crime policies, and identity politics. They treat Black Americans not as equals, but as perpetual children in need of rescue. Thomas Sowell, one of the greatest minds of our time, rightly noted. The Black family, which had survived centuries of slavery and discrimination, began to disintegrate in the liberal welfare state that subsidized unwed pregnancy and changed welfare from an emergency rescue to a way of life. White liberals preach equity but live in gated communities. They advocate defunding police while hiring private security. They advocate against school choice while sending their children to private schools. Their hypocrisy knows no bounds. A fee. What must we do? Overcoming ourselves. 1. Rebuild the family. Without strong families, no community can survive. Promote fatherhood and marriage. De-incentivize welfare programs that reward broken homes. Teach our sons to lead and our daughters to respect themselves. 2. Return to faith and discipline. We must turn away from nihilism and moral relativism. Encourage church attendance, prayer, and personal accountability. Embrace conservative Christian values of hard work, chastity, honor, and personal responsibility. 3. Pursue education and entrepreneurship. Create schools that teach values, not victimhood. Open trade schools and mentorship programs led by successful Black professionals. Start businesses, invest in property, and teach financial literacy. 4. Dismantle the Democratic stronghold. The Democratic Party has controlled most Black urban areas for over 50 years, with disastrous results. Support candidates who promote school choice, economic opportunity, and law and order. Run for office and promote independent thought. Build local coalitions that resist national manipulation. 5. Overcome our prejudices. We must stop blaming others while hating ourselves. End Black-on-Black racism and colorism. Uplift our women without enabling destructive behavior. Honor true manhood without machismo or thuggery. 6. Conclusion: stand up and walk. Black Americans have every potential to succeed if we abandon the shackles of liberal dependency and internal self-sabotage. We are not victims. We are victors waiting to rise. The path forward will not be easy, but it is righteous. As Frederick Douglass declared, "I prayed for 20 years but received no answer until I prayed with my legs. Now is the time to pray with our minds, work with our hands, and fight with our votes." Victory is not found in policies written in Washington, but in values lived out in our homes. We must rise, stronger, freer, and wiser than we have ever been.